Mr. Chipman, if I could just start with you. Since leaving the ATF, you've served as a policy advisor or provided support for, I think, just about every national gun control group in the country or close to it: the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence, Mayors Against Illegal Guns, and most recently the Giffords Group. My question is, given your policy bias, and you clearly have a very distinct policy point of view, you alluded to this with Senator Cruz a moment ago, how can America's hundreds of millions of law-abiding gun owners have confidence that you won't try to restrict their Second Amendment rights if you're confirmed as ATF director? I mean, what assurances can you give them that you will limit your efforts to criminals who misuse weapons and leave law-abiding firearms owners to themselves?
Senator, thank you for this question because it's really important. As I've said, for 25 years, I enforced the law in the books. Every day, me and other federal agents tried to catch the bad guys. I mean, that's what the mission was. It was trying to keep the public safe. During those 25 years, I saw gaps in the law that really prevented us from doing the job I knew the American public wanted us to do. Look at that 25 years. I was not going wayward with law-abiding gun owners. I never received a complaint of that sort. And I'm prepared to return to that job. But my passion after leaving ATF was to make ATF and our enforcement of gun laws more effective to keep us all safe. I understand if I'm confirmed, I will have to earn the confidence and your respect and trust to keep doing that.
Let me ask you about some of your work for the Giffords Group. In the landmark U.S. Supreme Court case, District of Columbia versus Heller, which was handed down when I was actually working at the U.S. Supreme Court, the Giffords Law Center that year, if memory serves, authored an amicus brief arguing that there is no individual right to own a firearm under the Second Amendment. The Supreme Court famously found otherwise. Do you share your employer's belief that the Second Amendment does not protect an individual right to keep and bear firearms?
Thank you for your question, Senator. I do not. I'm a gun owner. I respect that the Supreme Court has recognized this right. And if ATF director, I will ensure to uphold that right.
Very good. So you think Heller was rightly decided, just to be clear about this?
Senator, I'm a cop, not a lawyer. What I know is the law is the law, and the Supreme Court plays a role in recognizing what those rights are. As an agent, I felt like we were going down a highway. Our mission was to prevent crime, and the Constitution were those guardrails to keep us in line. And at times, when the road was uncertain, we had signposts, and those were attorneys who we asked advice and counsel. And so if confirmed as ATF director, that's the balance that I would strike. But the bottom line is our job is to prevent crimes from apparently is ongoing right now that other members have suggested, and that would be my sole duty.
Well, I just want to be clear on this because you said that you do think that the Constitution supports, protects the individual right to keep and bear arms. That was the holding of Heller. You've been a policy advocate now for quite a number of years, and I think that your views, and you've discussed some of them today, are fair game. So I just want to be clear on this. You think Heller was rightly decided. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's helpful. Let me ask you about something you said in 2012. In an interview, I think it was on MSNBC, you said that the Secret Service should not carry guns. You said their whole rule is to cover and evacuate, and you went on to say possibly we need to think of strategies like that in schools. Is that still your view?
Senator, I trust that you have and your staff have actually picked something I've said. I do not believe I ever said that. I might have said this, which is I was trained to work with the Secret Service, and I have observed that part of that training is that you have to get your body in between you and the person you're protecting, and you often don't have the opportunity to even draw your gun. That is something that I would say. I have never advocated that the Secret Service should not carry guns, ever.
Do you mean to suggest then that schools should have unarmed guards, that they shouldn't be able to protect students with firearms? I mean, I'm trying to understand the import of your comments.
Senator, thank you for the question about schools. I mean, this is something that we've all debated and tried to figure out a solution to the mass violence we've seen in schools. We know how to keep buildings safe. I came in one today. I do not believe that the best approach is to arm people to win gunfights in schools.
So you're opposed then to having armed guards in schools? You think that they shouldn't be armed?
As an advocate and as a firearms expert, I've rendered my opinion that I believe that there are better ways to secure schools. If I'm confirmed as ATF director, largely this is not going to be the focus of ATF. Our focus would be to prevent people who would do harm at schools from ever getting guns in the first place. Hopefully that addresses the question as you've asked.
Wouldn't that just leave the guards who are there, the law enforcement who are there, to act as human shields? I mean, is that essentially your view?
Senator, no, it's not, and I'm sorry if I'm not explaining this correctly. We came into a building today secured so that guns would not be brought in. I'm more a believer of hardening targets so that guns could never enter a school, so that armed people inside would not be faced with other armed people. So, metal detectors is something used in some schools, and I've suggested that that's a possible, view that states and localities will have to make for themselves.
I do have some additional questions for you, which I'm happy to give to you for the record, as well as we'll give to you for the record your comments in that 2012 interview that I referred to and give you a chance to follow up more fully on that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.